Welcome to First Things First. Is Josh Allen the best quarterback in the 2018 draft class? The Chiefs went back in the big game for the third year in a row. Is it Super Bowl or bust for KC? And Saquon Barkley is back at Giants practice. Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to First Things First. Joy Taylor alongside LeVar Arrington and Chris Broussard filling in all week. LeVar, are you going to shower Saquon, your fellow Nittany Lion, with praise all week?
Of course. I love
objectivity is out the window.
I'm excited to see him back. We'll talk about that later. Let's start in the NBA. Talking Luka Doncic, because yesterday Luka and the Mavs agreed to a 5-year, $207 million supermax rookie extension. Monster payday for the 22-year-old and potential future face of the league. Luka said, "Today is a dream come true. The game of basketball has given me so much and has taken me to so many amazing places. I am humbled and excited to remain in Dallas as part of the Mavericks and appreciate the support of my fans." So, Chris, will Luka win a title with the Mavs?
Absolutely, Joy. Look, I love Luka, and I know everybody's calling him Luka Legend now after Larry Bird. I feel like I'm the first one to say that. I don't know if that's true, but I feel like I was the first one to say he's a new age Larry Bird. Obviously, Bird won championships, so I think he does for a few reasons. One, as great as he is, and he's already a top 5 player in the league, he was first team All-NBA this year. He's a big-time MVP candidate. I think, he could start winning MVPs maybe this season coming up. But as much room as he has for improvement, or as great as he is, he's still got a lot of room for improvement. One is at the free throw line. And he's a 73% shooter for the regular season, which seems okay, but he's 60% in the playoffs, which obviously is bad, especially for a guy handling the ball as much as he does. Now, is that nerves? I don't know, but I think he'll improve in that, because when you look at his jump shot, you look at the form of his shot, it looks like he's smooth and should be a very good shooter. So he'll improve at the foul line and then at the three-point line. I actually think he's a much better three-point shooter than the numbers suggest. He's like 33% from three for his career, although 39% in the playoffs, which is a good sign. But I think he will only improve from the three-point line, which will make him that much more deadly. Obviously, you got an owner in Mark Cuban who will leave no, expense unpaid to try to build a championship team and build the top, state-of-the-art facilities in Dallas. And then thirdly, I think he stays in Dallas, at least for another contract after this. The international guys aren't like the American players, where they grow up playing AAU ball. They grow up getting to know all the best players in the country, playing together at times and dreaming and talking about playing together in the future in the NBA. You look at Dirk Nowitzki, I get it, that was a while ago, but he stayed in Dallas his whole career. Giannis bucked the trend and stayed in Milwaukee for this latest contract extension. I think Luka will do the same. So I don't think he'll just win a championship or championships. I think he will actually win a championship, at least one, in Dallas, LeVar.
I find it to be interesting, Mr. Broussard. I based a lot of my discussion points off of things that, I've heard you say. Ball dominant Luka Doncic. Interesting. You talked about Luka the entire time making your point, Chris Broussard. Think about that. You talked about Luka the entire time. The only other player that you brought up in terms of Luka and this whole situation was Larry Bird or Giannis, right? Different teams, right? Different places. Larry Bird had Kevin McHale and a guy by the name of Robert Parrish, the legendary, Mr. Bird. Okay, well, what does Luka have? What does he have? He has all of those things that you just said. He has game. He's got a smooth game. It's comparable to the legend of Larry Bird, but he don't have the players that Larry Bird had. And to me, and he doesn't have the players that Giannis had as well. So to me, when I look at will he ever win a championship, I started asking myself, can the Dallas Mavericks attract good enough players? Because another thing that you made mention of in shows prior to this is that you have to have at least two superstars, to three, to be able to contend for a title these days in this current NBA. How do they get to Dallas? I talked about there possibly being a chance that, a Dame Lillard ends up in Dallas, or maybe a Ben Simmons ends up in Dallas. But then you start to think about what are the fits when you talk about Luka's game, a dominant game. I just don't see him winning a championship because I don't know that this market sets him up to be a winner in Dallas. Now, maybe he gets a championship maybe somewhere else, but this could, you use guys that won championships where they're at, but what if he turns out to be a LeBron James type of guy that actually needs to go somewhere else and get a little bit more help with someone else? That could possibly be what plays out, Joy.
I don't know. I disagree with that. I think Giannis is a good example of how you can actually build, and the market doesn't necessarily matter if you have a well-run organization. Now, the Mavs have had some issues behind the scenes over the years, which they have made a great attempt to correct. They've brought in Jason Kidd and Nico Harrison, which I think was a great aggressive move by Mark Cuban. We all know Mark Cuban is an aggressive guy and is a very involved owner. But in this particular case, while I don't really like meddling owners, I think Mark Cuban is very aware that he needs to hire the right people and delegate, because he is a great business owner, and that's what you have to do to grow business the way that he does. So overall, I think that the Mavs fans and the Mavs organization should be really optimistic about their opportunity to win a championship. A lot's changing in the West as we speak. The dominant teams have injured players, older players moving around their rosters. So I think they're in a great position. I don't think that the market necessarily really matters. Now, obviously, you have to get free agents there, but you also have to be in a position to do that. You can also draft. You can also make trades. So if you're a well-run organization, you can put the pieces together and win a championship. I don't see why they can't. This is Luka's fourth year. Let's keep in mind, for a very long time, there were a lot of questions about Giannis's game, which he just put to rest in this finals. And he just won a championship in, his 8th, 9th year? So there's plenty of time here. Luka is a very young player. I don't think we need to start worrying about if he's going to go somewhere else. He just signed a supermax extension to stay in Dallas. So the way that I look at this situation is this. They've locked up Luka for the foreseeable future. He is the face of this organization. He is the face they're going to build around. He's becoming a face of the league. He's a superstar. So let's take care of this situation. We've hired a new coach. We've hired a new president of operations in Nico Harrison. So we have all these things set in place. We don't have to worry about these things, at least for right now. These are our pillars. Now let's start, to your point, LeVar, building around him. Let's start making moves to put together a championship roster, because we know what Luka is. And he's a very young player, Chris, to your point. So there's a lot of things he's still going to develop in his game, but we know he's a superstar. Let's take care of him. Let's make sure he's happy, because while most international players aren't very mobile, the world changes very quickly around you. So there was some talk that Luka was unhappy, and, there was some rumors about Zion and, all that not too long ago. So they've taken care of that. He's got his money. They're in a great situation moving forward. Now the clock starts on the organization to start putting the pieces around him to build a championship roster.
I'm glad LeVar went for my throat, all right, using my own words to go at me. LeVar, that was a feel-out round, all right? I'm ready for 12 rounds, all right? So I was a little jabbing, a little sticking and moving, all that. Now I'm ready to throw haymakers. You're right. This is the question, and this is what I'm really intrigued to see this year in Dallas. How does Jason Kidd use Luka? Because he is ball dominant, and like LeBron early in his career, really most of LeBron's career, Luka is the system, right? We've already heard Kristaps Porzingis chirping about, I don't like playing with him and this and that. Well, it's because they have a system built around Luka where he does everything. We saw in the Olympics, that's how he played with Slovenia as well. And your role players are fine with that. Guys who really can't create their own shot, they need somebody to create everything for them offensively. They'll just hit the spot-up jumpers. They'll rebound. They'll defend. Those guys are fine with it. But other stars, other guys that can create their own stuff, they can get frustrated in that type of style. And no matter how great you are as an individual, I mean, one-man systems just don't get it done. Michael Jordan was the one-man system in Chicago when he was getting the Come Fly With Me videos and the Jordan sneakers and all of that. But it wasn't until Phil Jackson came in and said, look, you can score 35, 37 points a game. But for us to win, it's got to drop a little bit, and you got to get these other guys involved and not be the system. And Jordan bucked at it, but he finally accepted the triangle, and the rest is history. LeBron, was always the system, and he won. So I think that leads me to this. There's two ways for a guy when he's the system to win championships. One is you get teammates who are so good that even if it's not the perfect fit, you can still win. I don't think LeBron and D. Wade were the perfect fit. And obviously you had Chris Bosh too. But they were so good that they won championships, two of them. Kyrie and LeBron, we know, weren't the perfect fit. But they were so good that they could win a championship. And obviously he's got Anthony Davis in L.A. Or you can go the Jordan route and you become a part of a system. So that's what I want to see. What does J. Kidd do with Luka? Does he continue to have him be the system and everybody fits around Luka? Or does he try to make Luka more a part of something where he's still the best player and the leader and the leading scorer and all that, but he's more a part of a system versus being the system, LeVar?
Hey, listen, I know we got a break, so I'll leave it alone.
We'll be back talking Saquon Barkley. Is he still a top 5 running back coming off another injury? Here he was at practice yesterday after returning to the practice field. Take a listen.
It's just fun to be back out there. Those are stuff you miss. Those are things you miss. Even that joking around. Some of the guys can't wait to, on the defense side, can't wait to get their hands on me too. I would say that because I do talk a lot of crap when offense and defense is going.
We're talking rookie quarterback Zach Wilson. Jets head coach Robert Saleh talked yesterday about Wilson's progress in camp. Take a listen.
For most rookies, especially on the offensive side, but for everyone, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It is what it is. There's just a lot of things that happen. I mean, there's a reason why being a rookie is hard in this league. There was a Hall of Famer yesterday that was inducted in that had a 71 quarterback rating his rookie year. It's not easy to play quarterback in this league as a rookie, especially quarterback. But it is going to get worse before it gets better. But he's at that point now where he's going to be able to stack up days, and we got all the utmost confidence in him and his ability to figure out the mistakes and correct them and get to a better place.
All right, LeVar, you in or out on Zach Wilson living up to the hype as the number 2 overall pick?
Hey, Brew, did Coach Saleh just compare Zach Wilson to Peyton Manning? y'all all got this same little delusional type of approach to comparing these new age players. I'm out. Not because of Zach Wilson, because of the Jets. And here's the problem. It is going to get worse before it gets better for the Jets. So how are you going to have a baby come in that isn't of the stature of, say, Peyton Manning or Trevor Lawrence or an Andrew Luck? Sorry, I'm out on this one. But you know what? I'm sure you guys will figure out a way to justify how Zach Wilson has you in. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Look, there is, LeVar, something in me that is just against believing in Jets quarterbacks. I can't help it because not since Joe Namath have they drafted a quarterback who's really done anything. The quarterbacks who've been good for them, Brett Favre, Vinny Testaverde, were veterans who went there after playing elsewhere. So it's hard to believe in a Jets young quarterback. Sam Darnold, everybody was in love with Sam Darnold. We saw how that worked out. All that said, I'm going to step out on the limb All right,
Here
I'm
we
going
go.
to take a risk. I'm going to live dangerously and
All of
say
that.
in. All right? I like his arm. He can throw the deep ball. He's aggressive. I think he's accurate. They're going to take their lumps this year. But I think over time, Zach Wilson will become their good, solid franchise quarterback, Joy. I'm in.
I'm out.
Oh, wow.
If I had to pick someone that was going to be a bust in this draft, it would have been Zach Wilson. I'm not saying he's going to be, but if you're making me choose one, here's the problem. One, the Jets are not good. That's why they were able to take Zach Wilson in the first place. Two, to your point, traditionally, it becomes very difficult very quickly for Jets quarterbacks. Now, the one thing I do like about what Coach Robert Saleh did here is he lowered expectations. He tempered the media. This is New York City, all right? Not a very patient place when it comes to football, and they're ready to eat him alive. So let's just temper the expectations for this rookie quarterback who's coming into the big city to take over what is not a good roster, who now has a new head coach. Things are going to be rough for the Jets this year. I think we can all safely anticipate that. So I don't think this is the evaluation year for what Zach Wilson is going to be. We're going to have to give him a couple years, but overall, I get the messaging and what Robert Saleh is doing, and it's very crafty and it's very smart, and it's very honest as well. He is going to struggle this year because the roster is not great, and it's hard for rookies anyway. But I am not a big buyer on Zach Wilson to begin with.
Wow, what a couple of killjoys. All right, let's stay in New York. Talk Penn State's own Saquon Barkley. He was back at Giants practice yesterday for the first time after knee surgery. He talked afterwards about taking the next step. Take a listen.
Just one more step of that to that journey of getting me back. Like I said, just the best part of it is just to be back out there with my teammates and just be able to practice, even though if it's a little bit, if it's a lot, whatever I can do to get out there and just do what I love is important to me.
Look, as they keep greenlighting Saquon to do more and more, we're going to let him do more and more. I always say all the time, look, I'm not the doctor. I'm going to listen to their guidance. They're the ones who are hands-on with his rehab. Whatever they allow us to do, we will. So what you're going to see from him these first few days, he'll be doing mostly individual and teach periods. We're not going to put him in 11-on-11 or 7-on-7 at this point right now. But as we keep building him up, we really kind of start to, get his body into the volume of practice, the pace of practice of the players out there, more football drills. That'll be something that benefits him as going forward. There's only so much you can do at a certain point with the trainers and strength coaches on the field by yourself. It's time to get him moving forward. And as long as they say it's safe for him to do, we'll go ahead and keep on pushing it forward.
I already know LeVar's answer, but I'll pose the question anyway. Are you in or out on Saquon Barkley still being an elite running back, Mr. Penn State?
I-N. Capital I-N. I-N-N-N-N. Look at his quads, man. All I'll say is he's still an elite running back. I mean, come on. He's only going into his third season. You get an injury like that at this point in time, and they are way more easier. Well, I won't say easier. You can come back from ACL injuries. You can come back from knee injuries relatively easy in this day and age of where medicine and technology has gone. There's no reason to think or assume that he's in the twilight of his career. Sure, the shelf life is 3 years for a running back, but let's be real here. Saquon Barkley is easily even on half a leg, right? And when he has injuries, I've seen him play with a messed up ankle during the season, and he was still better than pretty much every player that was out there on the field. The dude is special. The dude is elite. Like, not just because it's a we are thing, but for the simple fact that he actually really is that good. I'm in on Saquon Barkley.
I am out on this, at least for the short term, for this season. Just for this season. I do think later on he can regain his form. But here's why I'm out. Obviously, he did a great job of running the football his first 2 years behind mediocre to poor offensive lines. All right, now, this year's offensive line, according to Pro Football Focus, it is the worst in the NFL. So no matter the greatest running backs need some blocking. So I'm just wondering what type of holes they're going to be opening up for Saquon Barkley. And is Danny Dimes going to really keep the defense that honest for him to do his thing? I do like the fact that he's good catching the ball out of the backfield as well. This year, he actually may be better and more valuable as a receiver on checkdowns than as an actual runner. So for this year, I don't see a ton of yards. I don't see 5 yards per carry or something close to that. But going forward, I could see that as they improve on the offensive line, Joy.
Yeah, I'm in on Saquon still being an elite running back. Saquon is 24 years old. He's going into his 4th season. We had an awful injury last season. He's got a chip on his shoulder now. He's coming back with a vengeance. I know he's put 100% of himself into this recovery and how much he cares about being great at what he does. So I have no doubt that he's put in the work that he needs to put in to come back and be an elite quarterback. Yes, the Giants still have some question marks, but overall, the most important part about getting Saquon back is he's actually the face of this franchise. He's actually the engine and the energy and the soul of this team, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. So while this is Danny Dimes' team, it really runs through Saquon. So having him back is going to give Danny a lot of confidence, and it's going to move the energy of this team forward. So he's much more valuable as a leader and as an engine on this team than he is just at being on the field and being high volume. Like, they're going to work him back, as Joe Judge just said. So his health and all of that is going to be a process. But once he's back full speed, I have no doubt that they are going to be much improved on the offensive side of the ball, and he's going to get back to elite status very quickly.
All right, we're going to stick with football. Talk some Patrick Mahomes. Is it Super Bowl or bust this year for Mahomes and the Chiefs? That's next. First things first.
Back talking Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. The superstar quarterback talked about still having a sour taste in his mouth after the Super Bowl. Said the Chiefs not scoring a touchdown in the game will, quote, haunt me for the rest of my career. So, Joy, is the season Super Bowl or bust for Patrick Mahomes?
No. Can we calm down, please? My God, no, it is not Super Bowl or bust for Patrick Mahomes. We've gotten a little spoiled and ridiculous, and this is Tom Brady's fault. We lay this at the feet of Tom Brady. You're not supposed to win a Super Bowl and go to the Super Bowl every single year. If you do, you're Tom Brady. If you're not, you're everyone else, and that's completely fine. And I know that Nick Wright, this is going to push back on the fact that Patrick Mahomes isn't Tom Brady. You're going to be better than Tom Brady. But let's just calm down a little bit. He is haunted by it right now. Yes, I'm sure that's been motivation all throughout his offseason. And for the rest of the Chiefs organization to get back there. And yes, we expect them to get back there this year, if not next year, and continue to be contenders every single year because Patrick Mahomes is that great and that roster is amazing and Andy Reid is incredible. But let's just calm down. It's very hard to get to the Super Bowl. It's very, very difficult to win a Super Bowl. We are blinded by this Tom Brady magic and have these expectations that if you're a great team, you're just supposed to be in the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl every single year. Aaron Rodgers is a pretty amazing, outstanding, all-time, incredible, legendary quarterback, right? They have a pretty decent roster, some great offensive pieces, right? Have they been in the Super Bowl the last few years? No, they haven't. So they were there. They're in the NFC Championship game, but it's still really hard to get there, even if you're an incredible future Hall of Fame quarterback and have the accomplishments that Patrick Mahomes has already had in his very short career. No, it is not Super Bowl or bust for the Kansas City Chiefs. So just calm down a little bit.
It is 100% Super Bowl or bust in Kansas City. 100% in extra credit. Make it 105, 110%. Make it 115. Make it whatever percentage you want to make it. It's 100%. And this is why. A guy that comes out of the gate as quickly as Patrick Mahomes has come out of the gate, winning a Super Bowl, winning a league MVP, winning a Super Bowl MVP, going back to a Super Bowl, he has accomplished at such a high clip so early in his career. This team still assembled fairly pretty much the way that it was for their Super Bowl runs. You have the same coaching staff in play. You usually lose a lot of coaches when you're winning and playing the way that the Kansas City Chiefs are playing. This isn't just a win or bust, the Super Bowl for Pat Mahomes. It's a win or bust for the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a window of opportunity. How long is that window open for? I don't know. Was the code cracked on the Kansas City Chiefs? We saw this Chiefs team take a serious L, not just lose the game to Tampa in the Super Bowl. They looked like they were figured out for a moment in time. Is that the new blueprint of how you deal with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs? I do not know. It could have come down to superior personnel on the Tampa Bay side of the ball, but make no mistake about it, that undressing took place on the largest stage in the National Football League in sports, which was the Super Bowl. So to me, right now, going into this next season, we don't know how much longer they have until the Kansas City Chiefs cool off, so to speak. It's got to be Super Bowl or bust as it applies to me, because that's the standard that they've created in Kansas City.
LeVar, dial it down a little bit. All right, Joy is absolutely right. That is ridiculous. Patrick Mahomes will be 26 in, I don't know, a month or so. I mean, come on. This man is too young for it to be Super Bowl or bust. In the 100-year history of the NFL, okay, only 4 teams, have ever gotten to 3 straight championship games. And only 3 have ever gotten to 3 straight Super Bowls. That is what Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs are attempting to do. Not won 3 straight, gotten to 3 straight. Think of all the great dynasties we've had in league history. The 70s Pittsburgh Steelers never got to 3 straight Super Bowls. The 80s San Francisco 49ers never got to 3 straight Super Bowls. The 90s Dallas Cowboys never to 3 straight Super Bowls. And Joy mentioned Tom Brady. Yes, he's changed everything. However, in the middle of his career, with Randy Moss for a few seasons, he went 9 straight years without winning a Super Bowl. All right, so slow down. Pat Mahomes has plenty of time. Now, I like the mentality. I like that Mahomes and Andy Reid and the other players, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, are likely going into this season thinking Super Bowl or bust. They should. But no, if they don't win it, this thing is far from over. The window is as long as Pat Mahomes is under contract. I'll tell you that. Now, I will say this quickly. It would be nice when I think he's got GOAT potential. Obviously, he can't be the GOAT right now. It's way too early. That's Tom Brady. But I do think he has GOAT potential. And if he wins more Super Bowls going forward and we start having the discussion, part of it will be, well, in 2018 or 2019, he lost to Tom Brady in the AFC title game. And then in 2020, he lost to Tom Brady, who was 43 years old, in the Super Bowl. So I do think he needs to start beating Tom Brady. And that's probably my pick for the Super Bowl is Tampa Bay and Kansas City in a rematch. But he needs to start beating Tom Brady. But if he doesn't win this year's Super Bowl, it is not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. I do think that those 2 losses that you just brought up are going to be tough when making the GOAT arguments. Because if you're comparing, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James, there wasn't the crossover in championship games to compare, and that is what's happened to Patrick Mahomes. And look, if we get into the GOAT discussion, a lot of that becomes preference as well, because it's very hard to compare careers and eras and all of that stuff. But as far as the pressure that's on Patrick Mahomes, it's only the pressure that's on any great contender to go to the Super Bowl and win. The same amount of pressure is on Aaron Rodgers. The same amount of pressure is on Josh Allen. The same amount of pressure is on Tom Brady again this year. Russell Wilson, if you're great and you're a contending team, you should be in the Super Bowl conversation. Your expectations and demands of your team and of yourself should be to get to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. That's what you're playing for. But if you don't, it doesn't mean that the window is closed and it's over. week. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. They're great. So they have an amazing roster. We've already listed all the things that are working in their favor. And LeVar, to your point, the blueprints for beating the Kansas City Chiefs is having the Tampa Bay defense and having the Kansas City offensive line fall apart before the Super Bowl. It's not an excuse, it's a reason. Like, yes, Tom Brady was good, but that Tampa Bay defense does not get enough credit for what happened in that Super Bowl. They were really the ones responsible for what happens in that game. If we're keeping it 100, which I have to do, because that's how I live.
I don't know. The Raiders did it to them as well. I don't buy y'all's logic. And here's the thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that the window is closing. That is correct. I will not dispute that. But when you're ranked the number one team coming into the season, when all the power rankings say that based upon what you have on your roster and your team, you're the favorite to win the Super Bowl. When your team has played in the Super Bowl 2 years prior, y'all gonna tell me that's not a bust? If they don't make it to the Super Bowl, I'm not sitting there saying that it's over forever if they don't get to the Super Bowl. But let's be clear here. If you won a Super Bowl and played in one over the last 2 seasons and you're going into the 3rd season and your roster still says that it's the same group of guys that can go to this Super Bowl or is going to be on your roster, what is your expectation? All those teams that you named, Broussard, nobody said this when Jordan or Tom Brady didn't. Yeah, but it was still Super Bowl or bust. The season is a bust if you are a Super Bowl caliber team that does not go to the Super Bowl. So y'all's logic is flawed. Nobody's saying he's a bust. Nobody's saying that the Chiefs are a bust as a whole and everything is falling off the rails. Y'all going like doom or gloom on this. I'm saying if they do not win the Super Bowl or play in the Super Bowl at the least this season was a bust. Now, I would be hard-pressed to hear one of you two come with the crushing grip of logic that would say otherwise.
Well, first of all, we already did that. All right, now you just tried you tried and failed to rebut our arguments. We said that we agree with that logic that you just threw out. Yes, in their locker room, they need to be thinking Super Bowl or bust. And I'm sure they are, and they will be disappointed if they don't win the Super Bowl. But the question is it bust? They'll be back right again next year and still probably the favorites in a lot of people's eyes to win the Super Bowl again. They'll still have that stacked roster. They'll still have that all-time great quarterback and coach, and they will still have a chance to win the Super Bowl. So that is not a bust. And let me throw this at you, LeVar. You talked about maybe they've been solved, okay? They were solved, if you want to use that word, because their offensive line was depleted. Okay, it was just thrown together. Patrick Mahomes was pressured more times in the Super Bowl than any quarterback in history. This year, all 5 starters on the O-line are different. And Orlando Brown and Joe Thuney, they're going to be legit. Now, maybe it'll take them a little time to get it together, but this is a new revamped offensive line that I think is going to do a good job of protecting Mr. Pat Mahomes.
The whole point of the National Football League, especially for defenders, and I'll speak for all of us when I say this, is to crack the code. So maybe the code has been cracked. Don't underestimate that. And don't think that we're going to be sitting here this time next year and we might not be having a very, very different conversation about Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. People talked about the Wildcat offense. It's not going nowhere. It's not going anywhere. The Wildcat offense. How many times have you heard Wildcats spoken of in the last season or two? Not at all. You know why? Because that's what defensive people do. They figure it out. Anyways, let's get out of here, man. I don't even want to stay here anymore. I just want to go to the next segment. You know why? Because there's a new guy, Josh Allen. We want to know about him. Will he end up being the best quarterback from the 2018 draft class? Yeah, here's Allen over the weekend after signing the big extension. Take a listen.
It's definitely a spot where it's surreal to be in the spot right now, and I'm just thankful that we could get it done, and now we can focus on going out there and earning it and making sure that they understand that I know that they didn't pay me for what I've done. You know, that they did this because they expect me to continue what I'm doing and expect me to go win this team some championships.
All right, we're back here with Coach Eric Mangini talking quarterbacks. The Bills and Josh Allen agreed to a monster extension over the weekend. So now the focus shifts to extensions for his draft class mates, the former MVP Lamar Jackson and the former #1 pick overall, Baker Mayfield. Here was Ravens head coach John Harbaugh on Lamar's status.
Nothing's changed in the sense of it'll happen when it's going to happen, when it's best for both sides to happen. Both sides want it to happen. And there's really not a hurry on it. You know, Lamar is going to be our quarterback for many years to come, and we want him. He wants us.
I'm very happy for Josh. I think Josh is a great guy. You know, going through that process with him, obviously very happy for him. He's, in a tradition-rich town like Buffalo, they're lucky to have a quarterback like him that cares about it and, lives that same mindset that they do up in Buffalo.
What goes through your head, though, when you see those kind of numbers?
Like I said, I'm worried about winning. I think the rest will take care of itself. It's good for the quarterback position overall. I'd be lying if we said otherwise. But I'm worried about winning right now. I don't know the timeline on it. We haven't talked about it because I'm worried about winning this season.
All right, Coach, who will wind up being the best quarterback of the 2018 draft class, Allen, Lamar, or Baker?
It's so interesting, Chris, to hear Baker talk about it and say he didn't think about that contract at all. That's so not true. Whenever you see a guy get a staggering number like that, it's one of those things where even if you come in second or third place, you're really happy because that guy's now reset the bar in terms of what people are getting paid. And you look at Josh Allen and what he's done, and the numbers are staggering in terms of his quarterback rating from his rookie year to where he was last year is up 40%. Completion percentage is up dramatically. Almost every category he's improved in. That's why it makes sense to give him the contract that he has. And he's been lucky with his offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll. I think Brian is outstanding. I think he teaches holistically. So he teaches not just from the offensive perspective, but from the defensive perspective. And that really helps a quarterback. But then continuity becomes an issue, and I think Brian's going to get a head coaching job in the near future. So it's going to be interesting to see where that development goes. And then when you get a contract like that, there's always the fear that the guy's going to try to prove something. He's going to prove that he's worth that number, and that can get in their head, and that can actually make them force things. So seeing whether last year was an aberration or whether that was truly who the guy was or is what I'm looking at. I really like Baker in terms of how he's talking. He's matured so much from fighting with Colin about things that he said or responding to anybody and then talking about things that have no value. And the fact that he's talking about winning, he's talking about team goals, he's talking about all the right things, to me is encouraging, and his numbers are encouraging. With Lamar, I'm a little frustrated because I think that you want to see more development in the passing game. He's obviously dynamic as a runner, but you haven't seen that true growth as a passer. And as he keeps moving on, you're going to want to use him less and less as a runner because of his value is so substantial. So the easy answer to me would be Josh Allen based off of what he's done and what we've seen. But I think that Baker has a chance to challenge that group if the trajectory and the maturity stays on the same path.
While I'll agree with Coach, I do think you made some tremendous points, especially on the development of passing for Lamar Jackson. But I'm going with Lamar Jackson, who will wind up having the better career out of all of them. For the simple fact, just by process of elimination, he's already gotten an NFL MVP award. That, to me, sets him so far ahead. He's already got a first-team All-Pro. A lot of guys that play in this league never see first-team All-Pro. More guys never see an MVP award. So to me, I'm already looking at what Lamar has already accomplished. And I say, if we're talking about who's going to have the best career, Lamar Jackson has already put hardware on his resume that would, well, for now, it would set him apart from Baker and from Josh Allen. I love Josh Allen's game. And I feel Baker Mayfield has matured quite a bit as a leader, as a person, and that will ultimately make him a better player as well. I like the way he responded. He's focused in on what he needs to be focused in on. I agree. He is thinking about those numbers. He needs this year to prove that he's a guy. Like Josh Allen needs this year to prove that he's a guy. He did it last year. They both came into their own at different points. I think Josh Allen, with the addition of Stephon Diggs, did tremendous good for him. And then looking at Baker Mayfield, the running attack, the emergence of as strong and powerful as his offensive front is, really did him a lot of justice. So to me, I think that those guys have an opportunity to contend and catch up and be just as good as Lamar Jackson. I do not look at Lamar Jackson in regression for many years. I think he has at least 3 to 4, maybe even 5 more years where he can play his style of football, his brand of football, and it not be a problem. There can be a lot of damage he does in that next 3 to 5 year window of time. So, Joy, to me, I think right now Lamar Jackson is light years ahead in terms of who's going to end with the better career.
I don't know that it's light years ahead, but I would also go with Lamar Jackson. I mean, Josh Allen has readily improved every single year of his career. I was very wrong about Josh Allen. I thought he was he kind of wasn't great in his first 2 seasons. I was close to being right, but then he took a great step up, which is why he's getting this contract now, which he deserves. So he put in the work and developed and has great pieces around him and a great coaching staff around him and put it all together. So good for him, and he deserves this contract. And Buffalo did right by him, and now they have their quarterback of the future. But to me, if I'm looking at this class of quarterbacks, I'm going with Lamar Jackson. And for all the talk about Lamar Jackson and his, passing abilities, which has been talked about since he was coming out in the draft, he was the NFL passing touchdown leader the year that he won the MVP. He can throw the ball. They have improved their wide receiving units. So I'm looking at Lamar Jackson as the standard for this group of quarterbacks. It wouldn't surprise me if Josh Allen ended up having a better career than him as far as winning Super Bowls or decorations. But I would put Baker in third only because I think the system around Baker is elevating him a little bit. I do agree with you. I think Baker has matured a lot. I love what he's saying now. I love the culture that they're building in Cleveland. I think a lot of what's happened in Baker's career up until this point has been a reflection of the dysfunction in Cleveland, having to go through 3 coaches in the beginning of his career, which is completely out of his control. So I think that's kind of set him back in his development as well. But if I have to pick one out of this class to project to have the best career, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I'm going to even this out and go with Josh Allen. Look, he's got everything. He's got the strong arm. He's become very accurate. He's obviously got the NFL, the great size that you want. He's got athleticism. He can run the football when he needs to. He's shown a great work ethic because of the improvement from each year that he's made. He doesn't make the careless throws that he used to. So I think he's just going to keep getting better. And he's got, Coach mentioned, Brian Daboll, his OC, but he's also got a great receiving core. And Stephon Diggs, they added Emmanuel Sanders, and you still got Cole Beasley. So I just think Allen is going to have the better career over the long haul than all of these guys. Lamar, obviously, you're right, LeVar. He's been the best one thus far. There's no doubt about that. But I've got questions about his playing style. And he's been healthy to date, all right, which is a bit unusual already, especially for a guy his size. But I'm concerned when that 4.3 40 becomes a 4.5 40, maybe even a 4.4 40. And now some of those hits he's able to avoid, maybe he's getting clocked on those hits now. And so I've got to see the passing game improve. I don't think he'll run for 1,000 yards this year. I think each year he's going to probably run for less and less yardage. And so his passing game is going to have to improve. You love the rookie Rashad Bateman, so maybe that's a receiver he can work with. Obviously, Sammy Watkins is there too. I want to see him throwing outside the numbers this year. Now, we're going to find out, was it because he didn't have the personnel in the past, or was it because he just isn't good at doing that yet? But I've got to see more improvement in the passing game from Lamar, and I'm concerned about that. He's a good passer, but to be better than Josh Allen going forward, I think he's going to have to become an outstanding passer, and I have yet to see that, Coach.
And when you look at it, Fran Tarkenton said that he's seen a lot of really good young running quarterbacks, but very few good old ones because of the volume of hits that they take. And when he came in the league, everything was based off the quarterback-driven runs, and he was so good at it that you had to change your coverage. And there's a ton of 8-man in the box, and that tends to really help in the passing game. But when you look at a passer, what you're always trying to evaluate is when the whole world knows you have to pass, when the whole stadium knows you have to pass, can you do it, and can you do it consistently and effectively? And when he's been in those situations, he hasn't really answered the bell the way that you would expect him to. And I think last year he was down 10 touchdowns. There's a couple more picks. His quarterback rating was down. He's got tremendous ability to affect the game as a runner, which is great. But you want him to be able to affect the game in the as a passer in the same way without having to subject him to that volume of hits. He's too valuable to have him hit the way that he gets hit, and that's probably my biggest concern.
All right, we're going back to basketball. Now that Luka Doncic got paid, will he win a title for the Mavericks? We'll discuss that next. But first, Timberwolves star Anthony Edwards is having himself a summer. Check this out.
It's summertime, we out in Vegas. What have you been up to this summer? Anything fun and unusual? Because I know you've been working on your game.
I learned I got a new hobby, bowling. I'm really good at bowling now.
Oh.
Yeah, very.
Like strikes?
Yeah.
Bumpers or no?
Man, come on, man. Like 200. I'm bowling 200 for sure.
Okay, that's not what we talked about pre-interview. Tell me about Lake Minnetonka.
Oh, yeah, man. I got baptized in Lake Minnetonka. Hit a couple backflips, swimming. I'm going back out there real soon. Meet me at Lake Minnetonka, all Minnesota fans. I'm going back out there. Jet skis, everything. We're going to have fun.
Can you swim?
Yeah, like Michael Phelps.
Like Michael Phelps?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys, before this gets out of hand, that's Anthony Edwards. In case you didn't know, there's nothing he can't do.
Yeah. Woo. Multi-talented, baby.
All right, time now for stories to start your morning, brought to you by Subway. Josh Allen agreed to a monster extension over the weekend, so now the focus shifts to extensions for his draft classmates, the former MVP Lamar Jackson and the former #1 overall pick Baker Mayfield. Here's how Ravens head coach John Harbaugh discussed Lamar's status.
There's nothing's changed in the sense of it'll happen when it's going to happen, when it's best for both sides to happen. Both sides want it to happen. And there's really not a hurry on it. Lamar is going to be our quarterback for many years to come, and we want him. He wants us.
I'm very happy for Josh. I think Josh is a great guy. Going through that process with him, obviously very happy for him. He's, in a tradition-rich town like Buffalo, they're lucky to have a quarterback like him that cares about it and, lives that same mindset that they do up in Buffalo.
What goes through your head, though, when you see those kind of numbers?
Like I said, I'm worried about winning. I think the rest will take care of itself. It's good for the quarterback position overall. I'd be lying if we said otherwise. But I'm worried about winning right now. I don't know the timeline on it. We haven't talked about it because I'm worried about winning this season.
All right, LeVar, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield. Which quarterback will be best out of the 2018 draft class?
I'm going with Lamar Jackson. I just don't think that you can talk on a level of how elite Lamar has been as a pro player, and then now all of a sudden the gap is closed and he can be passed up by Baker Mayfield or even as brilliantly as Josh Allen played last year. Let's be clear here. Lamar has been here, right? Like Josh Allen's just now coming to the party. in one season. Baker Mayfield still really hasn't come to the table in terms of where you can say he's going to have a better career than what Lamar Jackson or even Josh Allen is going to have. This is a big year for all three of them. Why? Because all three of them can prove and solidify where their trajectory is. I mean, to me, when you look at Josh Allen, we looked at him in the initial and we thought, well, he's a lot like Lamar Jackson, more of a runner, less of a, running back, a big guy, big body guy that isn't going to deliver the ball accurately, isn't going to deliver the ball in a way where, well, you can sustain wins. He changed up his throwing mechanics. He worked on it. He improved, and they added a guy by the name of Stephon Diggs. It was a great recipe, and it yielded some great results. But it's no more than what Lamar Jackson has done, no more than what Baker Mayfield has done in terms of how far their teams have gone in playoff runs. So to me, I'm looking at where they are now and where they can be. They all can do well. But as of right now, Lamar Jackson is a first-team All-Pro. You know how many Tom Brady has? 3. It's not very often you can get a first-team All-Pro bid. All right? He's an MVP of the league. You know how many people get those? Not very many. So his resume is already a boastful resume. And to me, for all the questions and concerns about what Lamar may not be or what Lamar has to develop to be, that's still better than most all quarterbacks in the league. There might be 2 or 3 that you could sit there and say that's not better than, but Lamar Jackson's needs to improve and needs to develop this and develop that is still head and shoulders, maybe even a full body above the rest of the field.
Yeah, I agree with you, LeVar. Lamar Jackson is on the trajectory for the best career out of the 3 of them because, as you said, he's already been at this party. He actually threw the party, and Baker is like outside trying to get in, checking to see if his name is on the list. And Josh just got in. He's at the bar. He doesn't have a table yet. Lamar Jackson is throwing this party. Like he is the MVP. He has the All-Pro, first-team All-Pro. He has all of the decorations on the wall to show you that he is on that trajectory. He also is the only one of these 3 that we can all unanimously agree is the best in the league at something. He is the best running quarterback in the league. I think we would all agree on that, right? So he has one elite thing about his game that puts him at the top of the league. Now, how this is all going to play out as far as championships go is a lot on them because they are the quarterbacks, but we got to see what's around them. I think I like Buffalo's roster better than Baltimore right now, but Baltimore traditionally has been the more functioning, winning organization. And then you have Cleveland, which has obviously been a disaster for decades, but is just now building a really good culture, has a coach of the year, has put in a tremendous roster around Baker Mayfield. So what I would say is these 3 guys really have an opportunity to show who's going to take the biggest leap forward this season. Baker has the most to prove. We know Lamar is going to get his contracts. We know that's going to happen. Baker is the one who's really in the prove it year this year. So I think he is the one that actually will take the biggest step up in his game. Will he reach Lamar Jackson? Will he reach Josh Allen? Don't know, but I do think as a team they will take the biggest step up. But if we're projecting careers, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson.
Oh, Joy. Josh has a table. All right, he has a table. He took his table last year, and you know that. All right, look, the question wasn't who's been better thus far. Yes, that's Lamar Jackson with the MVP. The question is who's going to be better overall. We're talking 10, 15 years from now. Who are we going to look back and say had the best career? And I got to go with Josh Allen. Lamar is great. I'd love to pick Lamar. But you can't help but be concerned about how long he's going to be able to play at this level. LeVar, you made your money clocking quarterbacks. All right? I think every year Lamar is going to run less and less for fewer yards. All right? Because you can only take so many hits. He's small as it is. We've seen, and he's good, he's elusive. Don't get me wrong. He doesn't take the shots that Cam Newton took. But Cam Newton, you see, he's twice as big as Lamar, and you see how much damage is done to him physically. When that 4.3 40 becomes a 4.5 40, now those hits that you've been eluding, all of a sudden you're getting clocked on them. And that's going to take away. So I think they're going to run Lamar less and less over time. So now it comes down to, what does he throw the football like? And I want to see him this year with Rashad Bateman, the rookie you love, with Sammy Watkins, with Hollywood Brown, who swears he's all that. I want to see Lamar throwing outside the numbers. If I see him doing that successfully and getting his receivers the ball, not just his tight ends and running backs, then I'll be more apt to think he's going to be better than Josh Allen. But right now, it's Josh Allen. He's got the size. He's athletic. He can run the football, strong arm. Now he's accurate, great work ethic. And Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders. Come on. It's Josh Allen, LeVar. You know this.
No, or I would have said Josh Allen. I know it's Lamar Jackson. I mean, that's who it is. And listen, I like the argument. I like what you threw down, but I'm just not picking it up, Chris Broussard. I'm just not. And you know what? I gave you my discussion points. I think it's just show is over for me because you know what? I don't need to rebut that. I don't need to discuss that. I think Josh Allen is a fine player. I just think that where Lamar Jackson ends up and where his team accomplishment ends up is going to be higher than that of Josh and Baker's. That's just the truth.
But also, one thing about Lamar Jackson that I do like is that he clearly loves football. He clearly improves every offseason. We've seen him change his body. We've seen him improve in the passing game. So he really makes an effort each offseason to tweak his game. And that, I think, is extremely valuable moving forward into his career.
LeVar, I will take that as the white flag of surrender, my man. I'm with you. I appreciate that. Great show, great job.
Appreciate
you too, Joy. Undisputed is next with Skip and Shannon.